Okay, 12:01. Let's get started. It's Wednesday, and see, on Monday we did a like an open awareness mindfulness practice. Yesterday we did a little more focused attention training. So today I wanted to focus on a specific flavor of mental activity, which I would call resilience. Here's a definition of resilience. It's the ability to adapt and recover in the face of adversity, threats, or significant source of stress. And then a more biological definition would be the capacity of our organism to adapt to disturbances and maintain its core operational functions. That sounds like a real technical mouthful, but I think this concept of core operational functions is pretty key, right? The ability is for us to keep going no matter what the weather's doing, no matter what people are saying, no matter what the news feed says is happening. That is sort of resilience in its practical form. And just a reminder what that actually means when we're doing it. Here's another one of these really cool videos of neuroplasticity in action. If I can get it going. So this is um, these are actually just two neurons, and you can see these axons and dendrites reaching out. There's obviously a time lapse, but this is fundamentally what happens on a literally a neuron by neuron basis. Boom, there it is. The connection has been established. And once the connection has been established, and keep in mind, like a single neuron can have literally thousands, up to 10,000 connections, coming to and from, in some cases, long distances throughout the brain. So it's not just the proximal neurons that are connecting. And fundamentally, what we just observed here, this is like the core building block of that, of learning, of creating a new subjective experience is felt by us because a certain collection of neurons is making these connections. So same thing with resilience. When we have the experience of resilience, it means that there are logic level, this is happening over and over and over again. And then we experience this, with these different types of resilience: psychological resilience, our capacity to be with stressful thoughts or memories and not let our organism be completely derailed by it; feelings that come up, dealing with anger, sadness, whatever we might be experiencing moment by moment; physical, so the sensory. I've been doing a lot of ice baths lately, and it's the weirdest thing, but every time before I climb into this cold water, I literally go through this whole emotional sort of turmoil of, oh my gosh, this is going to be the end of me. It's going to be terrible. And then I do it, and I just notice myself just being able to be with the discomfort. And that's I know neurologically what I'm doing is I'm training my capacity for that kind of discomfort. And then there's social relational resilience, obviously our ability to, we're introverts or extroverts, how do we handle social situations? And the cool thing is, as always, we can train this. And there are three specific elements here that I want to focus on. The first one is bounce. So resilience has a lot to do with our ability to quickly return back to baseline. So something unforeseen happens, it doesn't feel good, our thoughts are going haywire, and our ability to recollect ourselves and bounce back up to this baseline, where we were earlier, that's one element of resilience. The other one is grit, and that really just refers to the ability to not even let the perceived insult derail us in the first place, right? So hence, the hands of, a someone that works with their hands a lot, they're not getting paper cuts or little, staple punctures, as us, sort of soft-handed office workers, may experience. This guy's hands are like, they're gritty, he's not going to get derailed by anything affecting his hands. So that being a metaphor for our psychological, emotional, and other forms of grit. And the last, but really importantly, is this idea of the cognitive reframe. So resilience has a lot to do with our ability to catch ourselves going down the rabbit hole of a certain explanation and saying, this is happening because oftentimes it's self-referential. It's because I always do this, or I never, fill in the blank. or we're pointing the finger outwards saying they always do that or that person is right. So our ability to catch ourselves in the moment when we're spinning this story, take a step back. So that's what we've been practicing on Monday and yesterday. Take a step back and notice that mental activity and then say, wait a second, maybe there's a different explanation for this situation. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe that person isn't doing that to me. Maybe they're just doing their thing and being clumsy about it and it's impacting me, but I can actually change the narrative that I'm using to make sense of my misfortune. So yeah, so these three aspects, let's go ahead and practice them and see if we can stimulate some of those neuronal connections. So close your eyes. Just take a moment to drop into the here and now. We have just a few minutes left. We'll end right at 12:15. So see if you can, for right now, let go of the past, let go of the future, just be here. We take a quick inventory of your body, the state of your organism. Just accept whatever's there. Not suggesting there's any particular way to be other than being open to what is. And then one of the hallmarks of self-directed positive neuroplasticity, I'm going to focus on the self-directed part, is that we can choose to activate our mind to call up a memory. So the memory or a memory I'd love for you to focus on is a situation that felt stressful for you. Maybe it involved someone else disappointing you. Maybe someone was late. Maybe you were late. Something where things just didn't go the way that you wanted to. Drop back into that memory and really embody it. See if you can amplify the experience. You know, who were you with? Where were you? Maybe even the clothes you were wearing. Was the sun out? Was it raining? Like, really get into the details of that situation. And now notice things going sideways. Notice where in your body you feel stress, frustration, maybe a quick scan of your jaw, your neck, your chest, and your belly. Just noticing where that stress registers for you. And then taking it even a step further and noticing what's the mental chatter that ensued this unfortunate situation. What are you noticing in your mind about the inner narrative about yourself, about the other people, about the situation? Now I want you to imagine yourself having just a little bit of bounce in this situation. Same person, same circumstance, but you get a do over and you get to be just a little bit bouncier, a little more flexible and elastic. Whatever happens, happens. There's a part of you that is able to recover a little faster, gain a little more perspective and context on what's going on. Just notice what it's like to feel a little bouncier. And as you play this thought experiment, I want you to imagine those hundreds of millions of neurons throughout your nervous system and your brain doing that little dance that we just watched earlier. Because in order to have a little more bounce, something different is happening in your brain. And the more we activate this experience of bounce, the easier it becomes because those neurons have established those connections and they're ready to go. They're ready to be bouncy. And the same thing with grit. So going back to this memory and just imagining yourself being a little thicker skinned, less permeable by the disappointment or the frustration or the situation. Like your whole organism is covered in just a slightly thicker layer of skin, less permeable, more protected. Again, the circumstance is still the same. Person is still doing what they're doing, and you still may be running into some unforeseen issues or problems you need to solve, but you just have a thicker layer of skin covering you, and you're a little springier. There's a little more bounce to your ability to be with the situation. And the two, of course, go hand in hand if they play off each other. Now we're going to layer in the cognitive reframe, which means that you're mentally and emotionally just taking a step back from the situation. You're obviously still in the memory. You're whatever's happening is happening, but you're able to activate a little bit of mindfulness and create a little bit of distance and just look at the situation and ask yourself, is this really personal? Is this really because of me? This person behaving the way that they are because of some other reason that I may have no ideas about? There's so many explanations other than me taking it personally in this moment that can account for why this person is behaving the way they are, or why this situation is unfolding the way it is. Draw on some creativity. Maybe it's totally different than my knee jerk mental reaction. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe it's not at all indicative of my life in general. Maybe it's just a specific circumstance and things went a little bit differently than I anticipated. But I'm protected, flexible. I can view the situation through a completely different lens or even two or three. And just notice if that evokes some sense of equanimity or calm within you. And go ahead and take a deep breath in. Exhale all the way. Hold the exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let your body breathe on its own, opening your eyes. Well, that's a useful reminder and some really practical tools. So if or when you run into your next unforeseen situation later today or throughout the rest of the week, just see if you can remember uh, the bounce, grit, and the reframe. I've found them to be pretty magical and incredibly freeing. Of course, the more frequently you do that, the more those all those little axons and dendrites are forming new connections. So hope that was helpful. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. We'll do some gratitude together. See you then.